Here are your Court News Ohio top stories in 5 minutes.
The Ohio Supreme Court on November 18th suspended former Franklin County Municipal Court Judge Harlan Hale from practicing law for 6 months. The justices disciplined Hale for dismissing his personal attorney's speeding ticket and trying to cover up that misconduct. This is the second time the court considered this complaint against Hale. In November 2013, the court asked its disciplinary board to consider a harsher sanction than 6 months. The disciplinary board this year again recommended a 6-month sentence, which the Supreme Court this time approved. The Supreme Court justices also indefinitely suspended Hamilton attorney Thomas Bellato for possessing child pornography, a felony. And Mahoning County attorney William Helbley Jr. of Youngstown was indefinitely suspended for a felony conviction of conspiring to commit wire fraud through a mortgage scheme. Both Bellato and Helbley must meet certain conditions before they can petition to be reinstated.
Nearly 800 new lawyers were admitted to practice law in Ohio on November 17th during 2 bar admission ceremonies. Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor administered the oath of office to applicants who were successful on their July Ohio bar examination and who had satisfied all of the Supreme Court's other requirements for admission.
Understand that your law degree was an intelligent investment. Whether you go on to practice law in the traditional sense or use the knowledge and skills you have gained in law school in some other yet unknown way, you are now joining a noble profession.
Out of the 1,173 applicants who sat for the exam, 902, or 77%, received passing scores, and 793 walked the stage to receive their certificates of admission. Ohio Supreme Court Justice Terrence O'Donnell gave the keynote speech during the ceremony. He urged the new lawyers to use their talents to serve as an example of an independent judiciary that is respected by its people.
You raise new hope in America as you will build public confidence in the rule of law and take your rightful place as lawyers in Ohio.
Following the ceremony, the attorneys and their families visited the Thomas J. Moyer Ohio Judicial Center, including the Supreme Court courtroom and the law library. For more than 25 years, Judge William Harsha has sat on the 4th District Court of Appeals bench. He and the other 3 judges on the court travel county to county hearing cases.
We're problem solvers, and we try to do things to resolve conflicts.
Judge Harsha said it's those conflicts that keep his work interesting, because there's always something new that comes before him in court.
I tell people our knowledge is a mile wide, but sometimes it's only an inch deep.
Case in point, an interesting appeal about fighting chickens.
The ironic part was they were trying to save these chickens, but they ended up putting them in cages together, and they're fighting chickens, so the chickens all started killing themselves. And then the remedy that they wanted in the end was to kill the chickens, dispose of the chickens. So it was kind of an ironic case.
Before he was ruling on appealed cases, Judge Harsha was arguing in front of the bench as the Pickaway County prosecuting attorney. Judge Harsha didn't set out to become a lawyer or judge. He wanted to become a veterinarian, but then calculus and organic chemistry got in his way. He liked the outdoors, so he switched his field of study and received a master's degree in environmental science. Out of college, he worked for Michigan's Public Service Commission and the Department of Natural Resources. He even worked as a laborer and helped build a subway in Washington, D.C.
I think it's beneficial. It gives me a lot more insight to things.
Maybe that's why he is more reflective on his career at this point.
When you start out, it's hard to decide cases. Your things aren't as black and white as you think maybe they would be. They're a little gray. And then kind of you progress and you get some experience and cases seem to be easier. Now I'm at a stage where I'm maybe second guessing myself a little bit. I'm back to the stage where black and white is a little more gray. And, maybe I'm giving more thought. Maybe your philosophy changes a little over time. But it's an interesting that I almost feel myself going full circle in that regard.
When he leaves the appeals court in 2019 due to age restrictions, Judge Harsha wants his legacy to include 3 words.
I would hope consistency. I would also hope fairness and thoughtfulness. Those things I hope people can see in every decision that we make. It's been a great career, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of really competent people work with and for me, and that makes the job so much easier and so much more beneficial. And so it's been a pleasure to work.
That's a look at Court News Ohio's top stories. Visit courtnewsohio.gov for the latest headlines on Ohio's courts.